Welcome everybody. Today we have Andy with us. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Jake?
So good, man. So good to have you on the channel. Hear your experience, sharing your story with people. It's so valuable. Everybody, before we get into it, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell below. Every time you do, that helps people who haven't been exposed to this content, people who are going through the struggles of hair loss, find this content. Andy, let's get back into it, man. So let's talk a little bit about your hair loss to kick things off. You know, when did this whole exciting thing happen in your life?
Well, Jake, I had like a bunch of hair, I would say, going through like junior high, high school, mid 20s, and then I noticed like later on as I started hitting around 30, my hairline started receding. And I'm a teacher, so kids would mention things like, "Hey, I could see your scalp," or "You're getting kind of thin up there," or so being in front of people, you're even more self-conscious.
Sure.
And I felt like I was aging prematurely. And so I was looking at hair transplants, and I actually went and I got one of those, consultations done. And they were telling me like I would have to do it maybe 2-3 times, and each time $10,000. And
10,000?
10,000 per session.
Wow.
And they said the coverage wouldn't be as good because you'd still be continuing to lose hair that you have while they're doing the transplant. So I was like, I can't afford that, nor do I want to have like thin hair and still be losing hair at the same time. So then I saw infomercials on the TV, and everyone's seen similar, hair loss infomercials. And I decided to go to a salon provider, had a consultation, and this was probably 12 years ago. So I've been doing this for about 12 years.
Yeah.
And the first time I actually got the hair system put on, I kind of freaked out. I don't know, like for many of you that have actually gotten a hair system, I went back the next day and said, you have to cut it down. It's way too poofy. It's way too, it's so noticeable. Like I'm freaking out going into the grocery store, going out on the street, is everyone noticing that I have a hair system? Because and it wasn't poofy. Like when I go back and I look at it, it was just, I wasn't used to having that much hair on my head anymore. But I eventually got used to it. And I didn't do any of the servicing on my own. And I was a salon client, I guess, for about 12 years. So I would go in once a month. I would get a new hair system every month. And I had an unlimited package where I could go in like every day if I wanted. That included products, but it was a hefty fee. It was like $650 a month.
Wow.
So, I like if there was an emergency, I would have to call and schedule and get in there as soon as I could. But I just know that there was one time that my hair system like completely came off in the shower, and I was like freaking out because I never put it back on myself. I was always having someone do it for me. And I just remember that I felt so vulnerable and scared. Am I going to put it on straight? I'm not used to putting the tape on and like doing all that stuff. So with the whole pandemic happening, the salons closed down for like 3 months, and I was still getting charged. I kind of like was starting to do some research and, all right, can I buy these hair systems on my own? Can I do this on my own so that I don't have to rely on a company? And, I came across your videos, which were great. And there's a whole host of other videos out there. And I just learned. And, I bought all the supplies. Amazon is a great thing. You can get all those, adhesives and stuff. I even bought hair systems on Amazon.
Wow. How are those?
So,
how are the quality of those?
Well, I'm wearing one right now. I mean,
Okay.
it's pretty decent. This is a thin skin. I never had a thin skin before. I always was French lace and Swiss lace.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, and I would say this is like going on 7 weeks right now.
Wow.
So I went, I bought the stuff. I would trim the base because I actually had a template. So I got like an 8x10 and I would trim it. And then I'm like, okay, I have it. I bought it. I have all the supplies. Who's going to cut it in for me now?
Yeah.
So during the pandemic, I was like researching. I moved into a new neighborhood, and I just
As one does during a global pandemic, they move
Right.
into a new neighborhood.
Yeah, it's like you move through to a new neighborhood, and I was researching barbershops because I kind of live in a kind of a hipstery neighborhood, and barbershops are all the rage.
Sure.
And what I did is I just emailed the barber, and I'm like, hey, I have a weird question. I don't know if you've had this before, but I have a hair system, and do you cut them in? And he responded pretty quickly, and he's like, yeah. He's like, I've done it before, and he's like, just come in, and I'll give it a shot and stuff. And he did a great job. And I mean, just cutting down my costs. I mean, I'm not paying $650 a month, and that was getting a new hair system and like services. Now like a barbershop cut is $30.
Yeah.
And then you can get a hair system for like what, $200, and I'm not even needing to do it every month anymore. I could go every 2 months. So it is kind of like so much more money now in my pocket, and
Sure. So I mean, it sounds like let's extrapolate. I mean, if you went a full year, it sounds like you're spending probably about $7,000 to $8,000 per month before,
Yeah.
and now you're down to 2, 4. Let's just say maybe $1,200 to $1,500 per year if you're getting one every other month.
Right. And like the systems on Amazon, you can get like a stock system. Obviously you have to know your color. But they're like $150 to $200. So if you're looking for a quick, it'll get delivered to your house in like a matter of days if they have it on stock. That's what I did. Like I would get it like pretty quickly. And
have you been able to get it that quickly during this pandemic as well?
Have I been what?
Have you been able to get it that quick during this pandemic as well?
Yeah. So I have like a whole bunch of like hair systems and boxes and stuff like stacked up. And then the salon actually had 2 or 3 of systems like that they had pre-ordered for me. So I'm like, hey, I'm canceling. So I paid for those systems. So you just got to, give them back to me. And they actually did. They mailed them to me. So, and I did order on LaVivid, and I'm waiting for custom orders. So, because I actually wanted to start putting gray in my hair, and because I have some gray on the side, so I'm like slowly trying to like integrate it and try to be my own stylist / consultant / whatever.
Cool.
But yeah, it's been very empowering. Like, I changed the tape. I would say like I used to do just the front once a week.
Mm-hmm.
And now, like every 2 weeks, I just pull off the system, clean my scalp. I have an exfoliant, and then I just put it back on. I got the 3-way barber mirror that you've seen. It really does help. The alcohol spray, like to adjust it before it sets, that's a godsend. Because the first time I did it, I didn't have that. It was just like, all right, I'm hoping that this is going to go on. And it's like, oops, some hair got under there. Like it's kind of
a mess.
And it's like a mess. And then I had to rip everything off and like retape it again. And it was, but I would say like I can get it done in about an hour. Like I've got it down.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty amazing, man. I mean, it sounds like you have a great story. First off, well, I'll come back to this question after. I mean, you've been doing this now for a couple months, and you completely changed your relationship with, hair systems. And I think that, the thing that I really want to point out there is that, you mentioned that before your system came off once, and you just felt completely helpless and vulnerable. And that's never a position I think that any of us want to like be in. We don't ever want to feel completely helpless when it comes to our hair, like we're trapped. I think that there can be value for those that, whether it is you or a different person wants to have, that VIP service of having everything done for them, but being able to know how to do it and take care of it if something does go wrong is very powerful and empowering. So I think that's really awesome that you did that. Now you said you've basically been wearing hair systems for 12 years
12
now.
years.
So that's going back to 2012. You're going back to the last recession.
No. I'm going back to, I got it done in.
Oh wait, no, that's 2008.
2008.
Yeah, so you're still going back to the last recession, man. The start of the last recession.
Yeah. Right.
Wow, that's amazing.
Right.
How has things changed over the last 12 years?
In terms of just like the hair system?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean the quality, I imagine, has probably changed a fair amount.
Yeah, when I first started out, I had like a poly like border in the back, and it was always just like lace in the front. And I remember I first started out, there was like a zigzag like poly like base, and I just felt like, I don't know, I wanted just like no poly in the back, because I would like feel it, and it was kind of like that hard little line.
A little crinkly.
And I'm like, if someone touches my hair, I would get like really concerned about it. But now it's like, I don't care if someone like, hey, touch my hair, like it's not a big deal, But I've noticed like with thin skin, and this is my first thin skin ever, it's a definite different feeling, but breathability, when it is hot, you do have to like make sure that you change it and like clean it, because otherwise, the odor and stuff like that. But I would say my go-to would be like maybe like the Swiss lace and like the French lace for the breathability.
So is that your go-to like preference right now? Is you for just fully Swiss or French lace?
Yeah.
Cool.
I think so.
Cool.
I did order some more thin skins just to try them out, like just to see, but we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that's part of the journey too, is like just trying new things and getting to experiment with what works best for you. That's something that is really necessary for any mastering.
Well, and the thing that I noticed is I was on a pretty high program in terms of the salon, and I even was saying, hey, I'd like to try out a different base, and they were they dissuaded me from trying it. They said, well, it's not going to last as long, and I'm like, well, I get a new system every month, so
sure.
Why can't I try it? So I felt like they were steering me in a different direction. Like the education part that you talk about, I feel was not as prevalent. And
do you think that was because they were trying to curate your experience, so to speak, as in like they were trying to take care of you in the best possible way, or did you feel like it was
I feel like the cost maybe of the thin skin was a little higher than the other base, so I think I had the feeling that it was more cost cutting on their end, where even though I'm paying that, and they would potentially raise the rate every year. So they said, well, there's going to be a 5% increase in your dues. So, and they were going to raise it again, and I'm like, all right, this is getting like to be crazy. I'm not, a CEO of a company. I'm just a teacher, So I can't be spending. I mean, that's almost like rent for a studio apartment,
Yeah.
So it just got to a point where I guess I was willing to pay for hair, and but it was getting to the point where I'm like, this is kind of a lot to pay for it, and I didn't want to go back to how I used to be. I never will go back to that, because I just feel great. I mean, that's what it comes down to, and I'm sure you feel the same way, and other people that do. And to be doing this for 12 years, it's gone by like that. Like I don't even.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean that's amazing. So I mean, let's actually kind of switch gears for a second and talk about that. I mean, you've been on this journey for 12 years, since 2008. You said it's gone by in a flash. I mean, have you gone through any periods psychologically that maybe some of us? I mean, for me, it's been almost a year now. Is there any periods that come after that, first year that I've talked about and discussed with people on this channel? Is there anything that you're aware of that whether they're slumps or highs or ups or downs or this or that
I think initially, so basically I got my first hair system over the summer. So obviously as a teacher, we get summer break. So I'm like, okay, I didn't want to do it, while I was in school. So I did it in July. And when I went back to school, people couldn't quite figure out what happened. They're like, did you color your hair? Like, what happened? Like,
right.
So
right.
That was kind of, and I was very hypersensitive about people noticing. Now, I did have yearbook pictures from the previous years, and some of my coworkers would actually show some of the students what I used to look like. And I actually confronted my coworkers and I said, why are you doing that? Like, the fact that you're like giving the kids ammo and high school students the way they are.
Sure. So
I did kind of go through stuff like that where I was kind of paranoid, and kids would ask like, well, what happened? Like, what's with your hair? And I'm like, I just had a procedure done. I didn't give them the details. It doesn't matter. It's what I look like now. So so that was very early on, and the yearbook thing, that was even as late as last year. So I would take all the yearbooks from like 2007 and earlier, and I would just like hide them all because they were in like a public place. I'm like, all right. And I confronted my coworker. I'm like, no, like, you're not doing this anymore. Like, this was 12 years ago. And the fact that you're doing that. So I think I've become a little more confident in, I'm not scared. People just should know, like, all right, yeah, that's what I look like, but this is what I look like now. So
yeah. Well, I think that's really awesome. And, I don't think I've ever heard anybody ever say this on the channel, because that's a really interesting experience that you've had. That, I mean, I haven't had that experience, and that's, I would say, less of a positive experience. But the way that you've learned to handle that is really, I think that there's a lot of lessons that can be derived from that, where someone is bringing up obviously something that you did for yourself, something that is somewhat private, right? Like, you don't have to. This isn't something that should be aired out for everybody to give their opinion on, and for you to hold your ground and stand up for yourself. I mean, it is such a powerful lesson that many of us need to learn. I mean, that's not they don't have permission to air out you and your life. And if someone was to do that with a medical procedure, right, like, they could be sued.
Right. So that's that's kind of what really bothered me. And not many of us have like that. You have your yearbook pictures, and someone physically will show others and try to like cause that to happen. So you really have to be like, all right, big deal. Like, it's just what it is, and like, a lot of people wouldn't even tell if I didn't say something.
Sure.
Obviously, like, going out on dates with people, I think that's one of the things I struggle with. Like, if I meet someone new, it's like, when do I say that? Do I tell them like after the first date? Because do you wait too much? I think that's the thing that I struggle with sometimes. Like, when should you tell them that you're wearing a hair system? And I know, like, you've had previous videos with discussion over that. And, I tell people, and if they have a problem with it, then it's like, all right, we're done. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, that's, I think that's personal choice, number one, but obviously you're not looking to waste your own time, right? So if that is something that is bothering them, something so superficial, something that makes you feel good about yourself, I mean, I think I applaud that. You don't want to waste your time. None of us want to waste their time.
No.
Well, thank you for all that stuff, man. I mean, there's so much to learn inside of your experience. As you're, as you know, this is going to be on the channel. Do you have any words or any wisdom for anybody that's out there watching this, whether they're young or old, just getting started on their journey, or a little bit further, like you?
I would say that, don't be afraid to do it. Get educated. I would say follow your gut, and if you're happy with the way you look, great. If it's constantly bothering you and you feel less than what your real self is, you can do something to change it, and whatever that may be. If you go to a salon, if you start doing it on your own, you just have to make a move. And I was very hesitant in the beginning to do it. And like I said, I'm glad I did, and I would not go back. So, and now I'm just, educating myself, trying to do it on my own, and just go to the next level. Take control of my appearance, and just like you would any grooming procedure, I look at this as just an extension of that. So,
I love it.
I think
That's
whatever
great,
makes you feel great, do it.
Whatever makes
You can always go back
feel.
and shave your head, right?
Always. It's never too late to do
Right.
that too. And if you want to do that, that's great
Right.
too. No harm, no foul. Well, thank you so much, Andy, for being brave, courageous, sharing your story and what you've been going through for the past 12 years. I think that there's a lot of lessons and a lot of things that people can pull out of this. They can dredge out of this. So everybody, please give Andy a round of applause. Leave a like, leave a comment. Congratulate him for doing this. And remember, just like, comment, subscribe. That helps everybody else see this content. People that are just getting exposed. People that may not have any answers, that are looking for them right now. And we will see you soon. Thank you so much, Andy.
Thanks, Jade.